Hi, I'm Debbie Homer, a Floriani educator from R&K Distributing. I'm excited to bring you another quick and simple project. I don't know about the quick this time, but it is very simple. This one's a little more involved, but the great thing about it is, again, you can use any sewing machine with just a straight stitch. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun techniques in this. We've done different segments for you in teaching you how to do the welting cord. We've done a segment in teaching you how to do the ruching. And we've also done a segment in teaching you how the easiest way ever to put a zipper in a pillow. So lots of fun things on this one. So let's get started. So we're going to start with the front part of the pillow first. So we're going to join these three pieces. Now these three pieces are cut 6 inches wide by 14 inches long. The finished size of this pillow is 12 by 24. So you can do a pillow insert and you can order these online. Just put in pillow insert 12 by 24 and several different vendors will pop up for you. Probably any craft store as well. So we're going to start with the front and we're going to join these three pieces. Now I've got one here that I've kind of gone through and got some steps done. So here's my three pieces. I'm going to put my turquoise in between my two colorful pieces, and I'm just going to do right sides together and sew one side. I'm just going to use the width of my sewing machine foot. So let me sew this together and I'll be right back. So you can see that we've just sewn the width of the foot. We've joined our three pieces and we've pressed our seam open. So I put my turquoise in between. Now you can just have so much fun with these color combinations. Of course, I like bright colors, but you could do so many fun things. What I do though, after I get this done, is I take and I cut a piece of Dreamweave Ultra and I put this, and if you've done any of my quick and simple projects before, I talk about this all the time. I don't like it when my pillows don't have enough body to stand up. I don't like them being droopy pillows. By putting this in, it just gives it a little more oomph and gives it that wonderful solid base to put all of my cute flowers and things on. So just cut you a piece of Dreamweave Ultra and fuse it to the wrong side, the back, right over the top of your seams and everything. Now I've already done this, so let me show you. You can see my Dreamweave Ultra is on here. All right, now I just took some rickrack and I didn't even use the same size or the same color because I'm kind of a funky, not symmetrical person, all right? That may bother you, but I think it's absolutely adorable. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how we're going to make our flowers. Now the product that we're going to use is called Applique Wonder. If you love doing applique projects, which this is, you will love this product. This is better than anything you will ever find on the market. It has a fusible coating on one side of it. So Applique Wonder. All right, now let me put this aside and show you because I have one open here. You're going to see that it has a shiny side. And if you look at the other side, and I'm going to kind of flip this back and forth to see if you can see that, there's a fusible coating on it. So you're going to fuse this to the wrong side of your fabric. So what you want to do then is take your pieces and you're going to get this PDF template that will give you your pieces so that you can have these to trace on. Now I've already done my templates and cut them out. So I have all my little pieces right here. But you're going to want to put those on the shiny side, not the fusible side, but the paper side of the Applique Wonder. So you're just going to put this down and you're just going to trace around it. You're going to do that to all your pieces. Now I try to keep mine kind of in a uniform, like this part right here is the leaf, not the flower, but the green leaf. So I have to have 2 per flower, and there's 2 different sizes. So once you trace all of these, you don't cut them out. You just leave them, all right? And I didn't do the greatest job tracing, but you're getting the idea. Let me put my pieces over here out of the way. So I just take my fabric, or my Applique Wonder, and I just trim this off. Then I can take and put this to the wrong side of the fabric. Now I've done this with the circles and fuse this on. So you're just going to, now I will tell you when you fuse this on, because I've traced this on the paper side, here's my fusible coating. The fusible coating goes to the wrong side of the fabric. You want to give that paper some pressure as you're pushing this on. Let it sit for a minute to give it a chance to adhere. And if you find that it hasn't, then just keep pressing till it does. I love this stuff. And then you will cut it out. So you don't cut it out until you get it all pressed on. And you want to kind of maybe choose the scissors that you're doing this with, because you are cutting paper. So you may not want to use your very favorite sharp pair. So here's one center. I'll do one more of the big. And I already have all of my petals and my leaves all cut. The great thing about this is that I can peel off the paper now and it will have a sticky back. So let me move this out of the way. And so I can set these where I want, and if I don't like it, I can move it. So now this is sticky. All right, so let's move these out of the way and let's start placing some flowers. You have 2 different sizes. You have a green leaves, and then you have small flowers as well. So you have a small one, just like this one here. So we'll zoom in on it again. So you have a big flower and you have a small flower, and you can see your 2 leaves. You can arrange those however you would like. So I'm going to get all my pieces here. I'm going to put my green leaf aside here for a minute. All right, it takes, let's see, I was going to say 6 of these to do 1 flower. All right, so there's my 6, and I don't kind of, you know, just lay them on here to start with, and then I'll do my center. And I think I'm going to do him blue because I'm, again, kind of a funky kind of way thing here. I've got 1 leaf here. Let's see, maybe put him in here. Just kind of arrange how you like them. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine. You can do this however you would like. And that actually goes to the other flower. So I was going to say that doesn't look big enough here. There we go, that looks better. But I don't want this to run over onto my welting cord. So let's arrange my other little guy. And I'm going to put him more down here in the corner. When you get these where you like that, then you can take and peel off your paper. Go. All right, so I have my 6 little ones down here. Now I've already peeled off my paper, so I'm going to show you how I did that. I've got this one all laid out. So I've got 2 petals. Once you lay your petals out, then you can decide, you know, where you move them around. So then you're going to peel that little protective paper off, and you've got that sticky coating on the back, which is awesome. So I'm just going to lightly lay that down because I want to put my petals underneath. You can arrange these to however you want. That's the great thing about Applique Wonder is I can move this around. I don't have to press it into place. And I want to make sure my circle is going to cover that because it's not a very good circle. I think I'm okay. This looks good, but I don't like the way that one's laying, so I'm going to move him just a little bit so he's kind of going at a different angle. That looks better. Okay, so he looks like he's going to work. All right, so before I put him down, I'm going to put my petals underneath, and you can see how I've lifted my petals and put down my leaves underneath there. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. So I'm going to put him, and I want to make sure all those raw edges are covered in that circle. So I'm going to lay him here. I'm going to lift my petal up and flip him over on one side so he's covered. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other petal. So you just kind of arrange till you get them where you like it. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's do one more petal here. I guess it's not a petal, excuse me. It's called a leaf. Make sure he's down inside there. And we'll flip him up. All right, so we just have our center left. Then we have all of our pieces down. You're gonna love this product. This Applique Wonder is fantastic. Look how cute he looks. All right, now I got a raw edge right there that I'm not happy with, so I'm gonna move him on an angle a little bit more. There we go, because you wanna make sure that your little edges are covered. I think he looks good. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go in and we're gonna use what's called a blanket stitch. Now you could do, this is gonna be raw edge. On mine before, I did a zigzag really close together all around it. But you don't need to do that. It takes a lot of time and to get it absolutely perfect. I love the blanket stitch. So I'm gonna go in on my machine and pick a blanket stitch. Now a blanket stitch is when it does a straight stitch, it comes over 2 stitches and grabs, comes back, straight stitch, 2 stitches and grabs. So let me set my machine up and I'll show you how that looks. So I've had Ginger zoomed in so you can see what this blanket stitch looks like. Now this is the bite that comes across and catches the raw edge. Now I've opened mine up so it's not quite so close together. You could open this up as much as you wanted to. Every machine has this on there. You could do a zigzag. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do. You could even just do a straight stitch really close to the edge as well. So I'm going to keep white thread in because I want white thread to show up on mine. And I'm going to start at the very top of that one leaf. Now you may find you have to mirror image your stitch because you want the straight stitch part to go along the edge. So the straight stitch goes on the edge and then the bite goes on to the fabric. So I'll have Ginger zoom in and show you what this looks like. Now when I come down where they're joined, and I don't know if you can even see that. Can you even see it, Ginger? Look how nice that looks. I love doing this. It's so much fun. All right, I'm going to keep my stitch going the same direction. So I have to turn it because I want that straight stitch to go on the edge of my fabric. So when I come down to the point, I'm going to take a stitch and I'm going to turn. So you need to do this to all of your pieces. I'm going to come back up and do the other leaf. I try to start with the ones underneath first and come back and do the ones that are on top. Looks like I need to do one more stitch. Okay. And you know I cheat sometimes because if I don't really like where my needle ended up, it's very simple to move it. All right, I'm not going to take the time to do all this right now. Let's go on and put some ruching and some welting on. So let me get set up for that and I'll come right back. So we've already done the segment and showing you how to do the ruching. Now we only needed 14 inches, but I did use the width of my fabric, which was 44, 45, and it's 6 inches wide, and I have it already gathered. So that has a separate video for you on how to do that ruching. Now we've also done the separate video for you on how to make your welting cord. So once you have your welting cord done and your ruching, we're ready to put it together. Now we're going to pretend that I have all of the blanket stitch all sewn on this. So let's just go ahead and put this on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my zipper foot back on, and I want to make sure my needle is left of center. And I'm going to put the welting cord right down one side of this ruching. So I'm going to try to line up the stitches with the stitch on the ruching itself, and it's going to come out that the edges are going to be pretty darn close to lining up, at least the way I've put it on. All right, now the idea is I've got to move my needle over because I want to sew right down this line that I sewed before, because I don't want any stitches to show when this comes back. And I'm going to have Ginger zoom in on that because you can't see any of my stitches. So you can see I have no stitches showing. That is good welting cord and sewing it on correctly. So I've lined this up and I'm going to sew right down the stitching line that I sewed my welting cord together. I'm attaching it to the ruching first. You don't want your stitching to show. So that's why we follow that stitching line. That's why we don't want to get it too close to start with. All right, I'm going to cut this off. So what we want to do now is add this to the side of our pillow. Now you can see that I've already done this side. So I'm going to put right sides together. And again, I'm going to sew right down that line so that my stitches doesn't show. Now let's just double check to make sure everything looks great. None of my stitching shows. Perfect. Okay, so right sides together. So we're going to lay our welting down. Now remember, when you do this pillow, we cut 14 inches. So we're going to have to trim a little bit of this off, but I cut it bigger so we'd have enough to work with. It's going to come off probably about an inch, and this will all be trimmed off too. I'm going to line those raw edges with my raw edges. I'm going to follow that stitching line once again. And if you'll sew on the side that you can see your stitches, it will look absolutely beautiful. Fun project. So many fun things to do. Once you've learned how to do this, you will have a blast putting this on your projects. And look how cute that looks. I think we did fantastic. I've got a couple places some stitching shows. I'm glad because I can show you how to fix that. So to me, that's not acceptable. So I'm going to go back, and evidently I didn't get close enough. So I'm going to better put better eyeglasses on. Let's get a little closer, because we don't want that stitching line to show. I'm really glad so I can show you that. But I didn't do it on purpose. I probably should tell you that. It would sound better, right? Okay, let's see now. Great, now we have no stitching showing. Isn't that just the cutest ever? Adorable. All right, I'm gonna finish up doing all my blanket stitch and then we're gonna put this baby together. So I have my ruching all on, I have the welting on, I have blanket stitched around all my leaves and my flowers. We are ready to put it together. Now I'm gonna put welting all the way around this. So we're gonna sew our welting cord on all the way around. So what I'm gonna do is, and of course we have a segment also, a separate video on how to put the zipper in the back of your pillow. So you should have your back all done with your zipper. I'm gonna put that aside. And now we're gonna put the welting on. Now I never start on a corner. I always start either the top or the bottom. Well, there's not really a top or a bottom to this particular pillow because it could go either way. I have my zipper foot back on. And I'm going to leave about 4 to 5 inches here before I start sewing. I'm going to have my zipper foot clear over again with my needle, and it's important that we cover this line. Be sure you sew to the inside of that so you don't have your stitching line show. So I'm going to come to the corner and I'm going to show you how we're going to do our corner. And when you're doing your ruching, I've trimmed this all to fit. So I put my pieces together and I've trimmed off. Be sure when you trim your ruching, you're careful to pull back so that you don't cut into, because you can easily squish it all in together. All right, now when we get down to this corner, I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. I'm going to leave my needle in, I'm going to raise my foot up, and I'm going to use good scissors. And I'm going to just make little slits in this so that it will turn. So you can see my little slits here. I'm going to use that stiletto again. Leave my needle down. I'm going to turn. I'm going to raise my presser foot back up, and I'm going to take this stiletto and I'm going to shove this back so that I have a nice point. Make sure it's laying nice and flat. You can see how important this little guy is. This stiletto is wonderful. It really comes in handy. All right, so let's check here. You can see how good this corner looks. It's going to be a nice, good point on it instead of rounded by shoving this back. So let's do one more down here, then I'll go ahead and just finish this up, and I'm going to come back and show you how we're going to join this so you'll never even be able to see where you started. All right, same thing again when we get down to that corner. I'm going to raise my foot up, but I have my needle down. I'm going to make those little slits again. And I'm just cutting almost to the stitching, but not quite. I'm going to turn, raise my foot up. I'm going to push this back in there a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take my stiletto and I'm going to push my welting cord up so it has a nice corner on it. Make sure everything's laying nice and flat. I've got a little extra piece there that I'm going to cut off, because I want to make sure that it's nice and straight with the rest of my pillow. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all this welting cord, and we're going to come back and we're going to show you how to join it. All right, so here's where I started. I guess there's maybe like 3 inches left there, and you can see I've left this opening. What we want to do now is get this inside. So what I'm going to do is take and cut this off. And another one of my favorite tools is this little knife. And I'm going to slit open where I have sewn. And yes, you want to be careful. It's like a scalpel. But this little guy is my favorite tool. So once I get this open here, cool thing about doing it this way, you'll never even be able to see where you've joined it. Almost there. Be very, very careful with this little guy. He's very sharp, but he is a wonderful tool. Okay, so you can see that this has all been totally split open. So what I want to do now is I want this to butt up to this. So I'm going to take and lay this inside, and I'm going to fold this at an angle. Make sure that these raw edges still line up. And let me try to get rid of some of these threads. I'm a fanatic about threads. I'm going to kind of give him a tug, because I don't want my pillow when it's stuffed to have a gap right there. So I'm going to bring this little guy down. And I'm going to cut this one at an angle. Then I'm going to bring him down and cut him at an angle, at the same angle. And don't cut him too short. You want him to butt up right together. We're going to fold this back. You're going to take this wonderful stiletto again. We're going to sew this closed, making sure all of our things are lined up and everything's punched in there. I'm going to use my stiletto to hold everything into place. I'm going to trim this off. And look how awesome that joins that. Isn't that awesome? All right, now we're going to put our pillow all together here. Oh, I need to finish sewing. Sorry here, I didn't go all the way down. I stopped right after my thing, but I had an opening where I started. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, now he's all sewn together. Looks fantastic. We want to put our back on now, right sides together. We need to pin this all into place. So you can see that I have pinned all the way around this, and I've pinned it pretty good to make sure that everything fits. Now you're still going to use your zipper foot. It doesn't really matter where you start, because we're going to totally close the whole thing. Now I can close the whole thing because I've used my zipper on a roll, and so I can just take my fingernail and slit this open when I'm ready to turn it. All right, so it doesn't matter where I start on this one, I just want to close it all. But again, one more time, you want to be sure you stay to the inside of that stitching line so your stitching won't show. So I'm going to go ahead and close all this up, and then we'll come back and show you the finished project. So you want to be sure when you come to your corners that you flip this back and make all those little pieces that you've cut, that they're all hanging out so that you don't get those caught in there. And then leave your needle in as you're turning. And just check those corners as you're going around. So this is when you say a prayer before you turn it that everything's okay. So I'm going to trim my corners at an angle. So it'll turn a little bit better. Then I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to put my finger inside of here and open this up the rest of the way. And we'll see how good we did. Or how bad we did. It's going to be good. Get rid of threads. So there's my first corner. Looks pretty darn good. My second one. So far, so good. My third one. All right. My fourth one. Oh my gosh. All right, let's zip this baby up and see how it looks. Look how cute this turned out. It's just fun. Now, if you'll notice on this other one that I did, I just added a little piece of ribbon and a little button, and you could easily do that to add a little more, and you could glue it on with a glue gun if you wanted to, or tack it on by hand. Cute project. I hope everybody has fun making this, and we'll see you with our next quick and simple project.